What if one of the greatest forms of justice is teaching a child to read?
What if literacy is about far more than academics, but about dignity, confidence, opportunity, and hope?
And what happens when a child never gets the chance to become a confident reader?
Today's conversation challenged us deeply, but it also left us hopeful.
Hi, I'm Jenny, and welcome to Big Little Lessons.
And I'm Kristine. Together we bring over 50 years of experience in elementary education. We believe the lessons we teach and learn in kindergarten stick with us for a lifetime.
Over the years in our kindergarten classrooms, we've watched children either flourish with confidence or quietly begin feeling left behind.
And reading is so often at the center of that story. Literacy impacts every subject, every classroom experience, and eventually a child's confidence, opportunities, and future.
As teachers, we've seen firsthand how quickly children begin noticing differences in themselves. We've seen the joy that comes when reading clicks and the discouragement that happens when it doesn't.
Today's guest is helping bring national attention to a literacy crisis affecting millions of children and adults across America. And she's doing it through storytelling, advocacy, and hope.
Today we're joined by Lucy Martin.
Yay.
Lucy is the executive producer at the Children's Literacy Project, where she leads major media initiatives designed to make early childhood literacy a national priority.
She's also the executive producer of Thank God for Mississippi, co-producer of Sentenced, alongside NBA superstar Steph Curry, as we know him, right?
Yeah.
And producer of Moonshot, a 10-part series about public school transformation and literacy success.
Through storytelling, Lucy helps bridge education experts and the broader public, turning the literacy crisis into a national conversation and helping communities advocate for children-first practices so every child has the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive.
Lucy, we're so grateful you're here.
Yay.
Thank you for having me. So before we dive in, we ask every guest this question. What is one of your earliest school memories?
Getting in trouble. I have two older brothers, and when I got into kindergarten, I'm so ashamed of this story. I can't believe I
Yeah, give us a tea. You can do it.
I think I had just seen some war movie, in the background, and I galvanized some kids in the kindergarten class to form the group, the Meanies.
So good.
And I think I'm still paying for that. But yeah, I remember taking scissors from a kid, or just doing horrible things. And then at one point, some kid stood up to me and said, it's not nice. And I just remember quoting, I think, Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, like saying, "Are you with me or are you against me?" Or something. Eventually, I made it to the principal's office. But I realized it was just one day.
Oh,
This was one day of the Meanies being a club.
So the meetings were just made for one day. And
yeah, it didn't work out. I think this was my attempt at inflicting the abuse that had been on me. But yeah, I remember my good friend told on me in the betrayal. I felt, even though I knew she was right, that what I was doing was wrong. Anyway, I continued through elementary school to always be afraid to get in trouble.
So you had a one and done day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was always the theme. Like, am I in trouble? Because I probably was always secretly breaking some rule.
Conscience.
Yeah, I still do.
Good.
I'm still getting in trouble.
And so you have two older brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I always wanted to have an older brother. Did you enjoy it?
It's all I know. But I always am jealous of, the sisterly bond. But, my brothers and I get on pretty well, which is a gift, because I know siblings can go all directions, and in general, we share a lot of similar values and creative pursuits.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your family, because you guys have worked together. I just am curious, how did your family first become aware of the literacy crisis?
Yeah, so this is all because of my dad, who early, maybe over a decade ago, was doing work with volunteers in schools and found that when they were addressing hunger or clothing insecurity, whatever it was, that it was just a Band-Aid to these high school students who had bigger struggles, and a lot of them couldn't read. So you kind of kept peeling it back, like, okay, well, well, how do we get to the root of what's going to keep these kids vulnerable in society? And he was exposed to literacy as a crisis and a justice issue. And so I joke that I'm like, a nonprofit Nepo baby. But so he has a big heart for this cause, and eventually brought us to the table. And I had my own kind of come to Jesus about literacy when I just sat with it, going, this was in 2020. We started production on our film Sentenced, and so I was helping. I made a Kickstarter for it, and I was part of fundraising in kind of the early stages. And this was during Black Lives Matter and during COVID, and just so much pain in our country. And I'm a spiritual person, and I was praying, going like I just didn't feel like I could connect to some of these causes because they felt like Band-Aids or things that required groups of people to like just die out, not like getting ahead of a problem. Like, how are we going to solve racism if the population is continuing to grow up unable to participate in a healthy way in society? You're not going to reduce prejudice if that's the case.
Yes.
So I just felt like I heard very clearly, like, literacy is this solvable issue. Mm-hmm. And so I had my own kind of compelling moment of like, okay, this is what I'm going to pour into, and I'm going to work with my dad, which I honestly was reluctant to, because it's a lot to work with families.
Oh yes.
So that was the beginning of Sentence. And then he had hired my middle brother Connor to direct the film, because again, my dad has great taste in causes. He will be the first to admit his aesthetic taste isn't strong, so he knew that he couldn't, he needed to up his game with the film. And so when he brought my brother on, my brother took on the challenge, like, how do you make something like literacy cool? It's not a sexy issue. Mm-hmm. Doesn't give you the adrenaline rush of other.
Well, it's so overwhelming too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So he was just like, we need to make this interesting, because an education story can be truly pretty boring. Yes. So he and the co-director Mark determined that, okay, we have to follow people who grew up unable. Like, we need to really show you what it looks like to live a life unable to read, and that's 48 million adults. These four stories that we tell in Sentence are really not unique stories, and not that they aren't so important and generous for giving their stories, but they're not unique stories. This is a common thread now. This is 1 in 5 adults in America.
Yeah, it's really connected to social issues, right? Big social issues like poverty, incarceration, and health outcomes. And when did you realize that it was all interconnected?
I think probably making Sentence, because when you immerse yourself in generational poverty, you see all of that. Mm-hmm. So, you can hear these statistics that it costs the country $350 billion a year in lost productivity, incarceration, healthcare. 75% of people on welfare are functionally illiterate. You see the data, but when we filmed these people who live with this, you saw all of that. You saw incarceration, you saw their inability to participate in society, and all the trauma that they had. And obviously literacy is not the thing. It's not the one thing in their life that's making their life difficult, but that if they had learned to read, they would at least have a chance to change their circumstances.
The way the documentary is laid out is so incredible. And actually, as I watched it, so basically Steph Curry's narrating it, and he's sharing all these truths about literacy and poverty and literacy, and it was incredible. And then it goes back and forth between these 4 individuals and follows their lives, and it's just, I watched it 2 times. It's really, really powerful and incredible.
Yeah, it's powerful, and it's really recommended for adults.
Yeah,
it's not for kids.
It's not for
watch.
It's not an easy watch. And after I watched it by myself, you had said it's actually better to watch with someone else. I'm like, but it was powerful. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, how did this documentary Sentence first come to life? How were those first steps?
Yeah, so my dad had been doing work connecting volunteers to public schools. But then he dove into the literacy community and was seeing all these different literacy nonprofits that were struggling to tell their story or to tell the why. And he thought, this is a film that can cover for everyone. You know, everything that we make at Children's Literacy Project is designed to be open source so that your literacy organization can use it to raise money, to get volunteers. So that was the plan to do Sentence. And of course, when you make a documentary, you have no idea how it's going. Sentence was, you know, that very same story started in 2019, and then COVID hit. So what was initially we'll be in schools was we won't be in schools, and we had to just go off of. We started with Fuji. If you all watch the doc, which we'll link to it in the, that was our first connection to an adult who couldn't read, who had a gang history. And so the filmmakers went to hang out with him, build trust. They didn't bring out a camera for weeks just to build that relationship and that ease, which you can tell he's really comfortable with them once the cameras are on. And Fuji was a miracle because once we shot Fuji, we thought, okay, this is the story. You have to be with these people. And then of course, we couldn't have possibly planned that he's got this story, this horrible story of his brother being killed. And there's actual news footage from the 90s with it. You know, like those things are like, you just can't plan.
You can't plan.
And did we think that when we made it that we had a finished version that played at a Justice Film Festival, and someone from Steph Curry's media company said, you know, I think we can improve this with a voiceover and some animation. And so it took our film and we added a script. We had an hour with Steph to film.
That's it?
90 minutes, yeah, like 90 lines. And
That's incredible.
yeah, it added another year onto the film. So we were, you know, just like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get this out? Then we got to premiere at the Library of Congress, and, you know, we show this film around the country, and it has legs. So while it came out almost 2 years ago, I think it will be relevant, sadly, for the next decade. And
I agree.
And so our goal is to continue to distribute it widely. We need eyeballs on it. Then this film breaks your heart, and then our other films are pointing you towards solutions.
I can't wait to see those other ones because, you know, this one, it really grabs you, and I really recommend it for all adults to see because, like you mentioned, 48 million Americans are illiterate.
Yeah, I believe that.
The new number.
8 million. Someone just told me it's 48 now. We're letting kids graduate high school who can read at a third grade level.
And that's a problem because we're going to be paying for it because they're not able to support themselves.
Yeah, you can't fill out a job application. You can't read a menu. You can't read a prescription. There's just so many things that limit you to have the quality of life, a dignified life, you know.
Yes, because most people that we see out and about have phones, but when you think about using your phone, you need to be able to read, whether it's a text message or an application or an app. I mean, it all requires some sort of form of reading. And so even for people that maybe not be able to read, it's just limiting them.
So I was talking to my son, my 22-year-old son, and his best friend, and I said to them, you know, I was explaining to them about the documentary, and his best friend said, I didn't even know there were people that could read. And I just thought, wow, that's crazy that he didn't know that.
I hear that every day.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, people, I didn't know that was, that makes sense. You know, I hear that, but it's just not a loud issue. Again, I think because there's so much shame behind it, and it's not in your face. It's like, you know, homelessness and drug use and, you know, racism. Those are loud.
Those are
Loud
and
and complicated issues.
And with that comes illiteracy, oftentimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's all linked, you know, in education. You know, if you can't get a good education, you really don't have a lot of options unless you are a freak of nature. You know, you hear those stories and you're like, yeah, but they had some DNA survival that you can't. Not everyone gets that.
No.
Those statistics, I think, are few and far between.
Yeah.
So Sentence was a family affair.
Well, my oldest brother scored it too. That's
Oh.
So literally.
Yeah, but there was a lot of people that made it much better that weren't related to us. But yeah, I think my dad just he trusts us, and he does like to, you know,
So it was your dad's vision, your brother did that,
Filmed it.
he filmed it, and then what role did you have?
So I help produce it.
You
So
help
I,
produce it.
I help fundraise. I show it around the country. I promote it. I represent it, even though, yeah, I didn't hold the camera. But my brother, Connor, like, that movie almost destroyed him.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like,
In what way?
it just was so emotionally taxing. Not only the content, but just it was just really hard. You think you're working on a project for a year and it takes 5. Getting it something made and getting people to care before something is finished. People are always like, oh my gosh, this is what the world needs. I've never seen it like this. But it is really hard to get people. The people that I'm working with right now are practitioners.
Okay.
They're educators, and I don't think they have the vision to see what a film can do, especially because I know when it's done, it's going to bring $1 billion of value to the state.
Absolutely.
I think I don't mean to be complaining, but man, I feel for my brother now. I get why he's so done with Sentenced, and that's why I'm the one showing it. I have a feeling that when I'm done with this film, someone else is going to have to deal with it, because I'm already, we've only shot 2 interviews. It's just the fundraising, the getting people who say they're excited and then can't, come through.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and you can't make people care about things they don't care about. And if they can't see it, yeah, you can't, I don't know, you can't make, I think of Bonnie Raitt, I can't make you love me. That's like how I feel about you. You can't until you can see it.
Yeah. What gives you that strength to keep going on?
Honestly, I don't know. Right now I'm very frail. So anytime we get a little bump in a donation, or, we just got a grant, that gives me like someone, there's going to be someone else that says that's worth 50 grand in the pot, or we're trying to raise $1 million and we've raised 200 with, portion of that already being spent. But I have to always go like, my North Star is children, my North Star is children. The reason that we're making the Mississippi film, Thank God for Mississippi, is because it shows what happens when the state aligns their policy with what's best for children. And the adults get out of the way and make it about kids.
Yep.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of things happening in small communities or a school or a district, but if those districts have the backing of the state with policy that said this is what's required, this is the curriculum that works, it's science-backed, this is the professional development that is required for teachers, this administrative staff also need to know how kids learn to read. Like, there's so many great policies that can support this. So I just so believe in this film, because Sentence is sort of a bottom-up film. We need the states, especially right now. All the funding is trying to go back to the states. The states can solve this.
Okay.
The federal government can't. They haven't. $1 trillion has been spent on education, and we're, 35th in the world literate.
Yikes.
Money from the federal government has not fixed the literacy crisis. States can do it. They're closer to their kids. They have their own dynamics.
It's working.
Yeah, there are places that it's working, and Louisiana is following what Mississippi did, and now they're the fastest growing state in the South. So there's so much, and it's so good when you see it. I mean, all these people in Mississippi are writing books and articles and talking on podcasts, but there's just something that happens when you see it done and see the players and their willpower and what courage. So yeah, this is probably helping me continue on this podcast.
Well, that's the goal, right? And
If I talk about it, I believe it.
But I love that your North Star is focusing on children. And when you have that end goal in mind, and you see those precious little children that are struggling with learning to read, that's what gives you that energy. And I think that's really honest too, that it's exhausting work. We have that as teachers too. Month of May, we usually say it's like the 1,000 days of May, because it's like, I love these kids, but they're really hard right now. But we still love them, right? We still care for them. So thank you for doing this hard work. Yeah. And it seems like when it's first starting, it's going to have that slow movement, but you're seeing those wheels turning, like the state of Mississippi, it's turning around, and now Louisiana's jumping on board. So
yeah, Alabama, there's a thing they're calling it Southern Surge.
Oh, Southern Surge. Yeah, I like that.
What surprised you the most while filming it?
I think what surprised us the most was that inextricable link between generational poverty and illiteracy. You saw that there's no way someone could get out of their situation if they couldn't read. And then you also saw how that cycle was just perpetuated because parents couldn't read to their kids. They didn't value education because they didn't have that themselves.
Didn't have a positive education experience.
No, there's shame, there's trauma. I mean,
So much trauma.
the brain's ability to learn when they're coming to school with the abuse that all of these people experience.
I know.
And even Fuji didn't seem to have that trauma as a kid, but he probably was dyslexic or something, learning, but didn't have the support at home. So there are many different. But then the trauma comes after because that cycle of shame begins. So there's just it affects all of that. And so I think seeing it up close, because if we were to make a film that was just about kids, you wouldn't see what the consequences were because you're looking at an adorable second grader. They haven't done something horrible that they now can't take back and are now dealing with that. You think of a 17-year-old who dropped out. I mean, maybe has killed someone or maybe did something. It's just something that is, just causes so much damage to their soul and others. And now we're trying to fix that kid.
Yes.
Whoa.
It's really, really hard. Yeah, starting at that young age and pouring into them and figuring out what is the roadblock to their reading. I mean, like you mentioned, 1 in 5 children have some form of dyslexia, and how can we help those kids so that they get back on track?
I see it.
Yeah.
Our kids are the lucky ones.
I'm just curious, what are some misconceptions people have about adults or children who are struggling to read?
I think one is that parents don't care about their kids. Like education, some poor families. I know, like what we saw is that all the parents in the film loved their kids and were doing the best that they could. I think another misconception is that this is the teacher's problem. I think the teachers are being asked, especially in these Title I environments, to be everything and more.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah, you see that in the film. Also,
Right.
When you go into the school.
Exactly. So that's a misconception that those are the ones that I hear the most. And the beautiful thing is that I haven't met a single person on any side of the aisle in any direction that doesn't want a kid to succeed. I think a lot of the pushback is when people are adults that they start to decide who's more deserving of what. But when you're talking about kids, everyone's pretty much. I mean, I haven't worked with a single person, and this is to me very bipartisan purple issue. So Mississippi is totally a red state. I'm working with a lot of Republicans there. No one doesn't want a kid to succeed.
That's right. This is not about Republican, Democratic.
This is about children.
Yes.
And so that's what's also fun about being in this cause is that you're not dealing in the political. In terms of, again, keeping that North Star being children, everyone's on board.
Everyone's on board.
So yeah, those are the major misconceptions. I find that the parents don't care and the teachers aren't trying hard enough. I think a lot of teachers just require, if they're going to be held to a higher standard, they need the support to get there.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you on behalf of all teachers.
I don't know. I've never educated a child, but that's what I'm saying on this camera.
I'm curious, can you explain the connection between trauma, toxic stress, and literacy development? In one sentence, please.
I probably can't. With there's so many smarter people. Have you ever heard of Isabel Howe?
Oh.
H-A-U. She wrote a book called Love to Learn.
Ooh.
And it is about the brain and the loving environment, and how children flourish in learning.
Oh, sounds good.
She's a Stanford professor, but super smart. We're actually going to show Sentenced to one of her cohorts, or we're working on that. But yeah, I mean, if I just think of myself under stress and how my brain shuts down, and I have, I'm not dealing with the stuff that kids are, but I'm like, when I'm hungry, just think about yourself.
Yeah.
When I'm hungry, when I've had traumatic things happen and I've watched my brain betray me. And so, yeah, I can only imagine if that's the norm for a kid. You when you watch the film and you hear Haley talk about, I don't think I've had trauma.
I was thinking,
and you're like you were locked in your room for weeks on end because, to like,
Yes.
she's wanting to see that she got murdered. Like, trauma to her is being murdered.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
I can't imagine, but there are smarter people. We actually made a video that I can also share with you. It's called How to Build a Brain. So it kind of looks at what happens when the brain's being supported and when the brain is not being supported. And
Yeah, I imagine there's so much research on.
the smartest people ever are
Yeah.
figuring this out.
No.
We need to be allowed to speak on it.
Okay, well,
It's fascinating.
it is.
I think one of the things that stood out to us also was the importance of like one-to-one adult attention. Why is that relationship piece so critical?
I wish I had the fact from the film, but it's that Harvard study that found that kids who were able to change their circumstances, they can point to one stable adult that was committed to them. We know there's some like spiritual mystery of just love that when someone pours into you, that people flourish. And so, yeah, the mentorship piece that we talk about at the end of the film is just a way to encourage that this isn't, we're not just going to leave it to the schools. Like, there are places where citizens
We can help.
and we also show in the film how much it blesses the person giving their time, because it's just like every sage from every religion is like, when your life is about others, you're happy, you're fulfilled.
Yes.
We know that to be true, so that's why we encourage that, and we're trying to kind of build that database of volunteer opportunities in the cause of literacy, where we can send people.
Wonderful.
And there's some good ones all over the country.
I've been looking into it. Your Sentenced documentary has motivated me to look into that, and I'm excited about it.
Retired teachers are some
Oh,
of the
yeah.
best volunteers.
Oh yeah, I'm all in. I can't wait. I love it. Let's start talking about the classroom connection.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about why fourth grade is considered such a critical benchmark?
Yeah, this is kind of a fact that everyone says in the literacy conversation, that once a child is entering elementary school, kindergarten through third grade is learning to read, and then fourth grade on, they're sort of expected to read to learn. Third grade is that pivotal moment. Of course, we know that this all starts prenatally. A child's ability to read starts with oral language, and then learning their letters and their sounds, and that's what we want a kid to be entering kindergarten with, but that's often not happening at all for kids in poverty, and that's where the disadvantage begins. So it's not, if we're trying to solve this problem at the end of third grade, it's not going to happen. In fourth grade, you read a math problem, you read science. I mean, everything hinges on your ability to read. And so that's really when they start to lose kids too, where they start seeing them glaze over and drop out. That's the beginning of that story. And of course, there are people in the literacy space who know that learning to read needs to continue past fourth grade, not just because kids are behind, but because there's still a lot to learn in terms of breaking down big words
And making sure that they're understanding what they read. The comprehension piece seems to be really the stressing point in that fourth grade, because sometimes kids might even be able to read the words, but they have, right?
They don't know what the words are saying.
They don't know what it means. They're not putting it together.
That's what the comprehension piece post fourth grade.
Also thinking, as you're talking, that reading is developmental, so these kids are at such a disadvantage because by the time they arrive at school at age 5, they've already missed so much. So how do you provide them with, they were never read to, they don't know their ABCs. I mean, it's hard. I mean, the program has to be very specific.
Yeah, I mean, and that is where a singular adult's attention on those kids can catch up with that attention. It's just hard to get that attention, and it can't be the one teacher who has 30 kids. The science is very clear that this pre-K is this window so important. I was just sitting in a classroom a few weeks ago in Florida with a kid who very poor oral language. But they identify him, and now they're going hard in the paint on him. But that school is literally designed. That's part of the Moonshot series.
Okay.
you identify those kids based on oral language early, and then provide all the intervention you can.
Yeah, pour into them.
But most schools don't have those resources, don't have the support, and that's where, also encouraging the government to see where they should be spending some of this money that they have, and they're getting back to the states. It's like we have good places to put money, not just in administrative roles that aren't doing anything for literacy.
But really getting into the classroom, getting into the one-on-one student work. Absolutely.
Why should people who don't currently have school-age children care about literacy?
Great question. There's an answer in almost every category. We have the just boring, mercenary economic answer, which is that we are paying for this population with our tax dollars. And with our society, the societal ills, we pay for that. We see that on the streets. We deal with it whether we know it or not. But we are definitely paying for it fiscally.
Yeah, how much there's a statistics that's in the documentary. It's like
$350 billion a year.
$350 billion.
Yeah.
And that's going towards programs for people who are on the streets.
Did I lie?
Why? No, I think
Is it million?
It might be million.
It's million.
Okay, 300 million. Yeah.
It's $350 million a year.
A year.
Yeah, that's in lost productivity, incarceration. 75% of young men entering the prison system are functionally illiterate.
Yeah.
Is there a pattern? Do they have options? I can see that cycle of shame starting. You meet these guys that and you dig deep, and it's just that wound is so powerful, like we were talking about earlier. Like damage of a broken man on society. So great.
Yeah.
I was sitting at breakfast with a former congressman from Kansas who was telling a beautiful prison reform story. A man who didn't learn to read, and now he had murdered two people when he was 17, but now he's mentoring young men entering. And I said, with all due respect, Congressman, I don't want to hear another prison redemption story. I don't want that kid to have committed murder because he didn't have options and gotten with the worst crowd and caused generations of damage to the families of the victims and himself.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful stories.
They are.
But, and I love a redemption story, but we can prevent this pain.
Right. You're saying those stories shouldn't even be his stories.
You wouldn't want to get this boy to 17, kill two people. Then he learns to be able to read.
Person, and we love him, but he's in prison for the rest of his life, and those families no longer have their... it's just we don't...
Yeah, let's start.
And that's the more normal, that's not the sicko that's a killer, that's the thug.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a thug. The cost is, there's also a national security cost right now. Whether you value the military or not, we now can only accept 25% of applicants to apply. And a huge portion of that is because of the cognitive skills.
Oh, I did not know that.
And critical thinking. There was a guy, a national security expert, his name is David McDonald. He speaks on this, but basically, in Tennessee, there was a white supremacist group versus a Black Lives Matter group, and they were all there at this protest because of Russian bots who encouraged them both to go to this rally. It was national security, the FBI determined it was actual our foreign adversaries creating dissent in our own country because of lack of critical thinking.
Wow.
So you see that this affects so many
levels. A robot's telling you what to do.
And so we have an economic case. We have a national security case. We have a spiritual case. We have a societal. There's so many reasons why. It's almost unfathomable that we would allow a population of children to grow up not learning how to read.
Exactly.
What do we expect from them out in the world?
Yeah.
It's wild. I think, sorry, I'm going to be bold here, but I was at this big conference. People are getting awards for their work in education. And for the last 30, 40 years, and now it's just they should be in prison. Not really, they're good people.
Of course.
But the results are abysmal.
Yeah.
This is nothing. No one should be celebrating unless they can show me paycheck. Like, this was a Teachers College of Columbia guy who was getting an award. And I'm like, we put out teachers the last 30 years who didn't know how to teach reading. They all adopted balanced literacy. And now we know that that's not effective. And then they double down. Literacy feels like this secret true crime story.
I think they call it the reading wars because there's so many conflicting ideas of how to unfold reading. There's so many components to reading. And I think part of the reading process is understanding who you're working with.
100%.
I think you have to look at your demographic. Who are your students that are walking into the classroom? Because if someone's coming from a toxic home and hasn't been read to, you've got to approach reading in a much different approach than someone who's been read to before they were born. They've been hearing stories and talking to and reading books. So to your point, though, having concrete ideas of how you're going to work with students is so important to have a plan, which goes back to your whole work with state policies and getting everybody on board.
Well, in that conversation, I mean, I've been teaching for 35 years. It's just, it comes around and around and around. It's been the same conversation we've been having about this literacy, whole literature versus phonics and science of reading versus the units of study. And so, yeah, it's hard as an educator because there's certain things you believe in, but it's also not, if it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I haven't taught children, so I wouldn't know what it's like to be like, wait, I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Because I think
there has to be more explicit teaching. I agree with you. I think there's benchmarks of sorts that you need to have in order for the next level. So we support what you're advocating for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is just finding the right way. Like, it's happening in these states, happening in these southern states. I'd love to go.
What'd you call the Southern Surge?
that was the article called the Southern Surge.
Oh, I want to see that.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Well, I think the science of reading is also about that science evolves and we get new information. So part of it too is being open-minded. But the science says that this should work for 95% of kids.
That's pretty
so
good numbers.
Let's talk about the Moonshot series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about Moonshot.
So after Sentence, RT was a little bit depressing. The film is not easy, and you're kind of like, okay, where are solutions happening? Mm-hmm. And we were exposed to this school district in Indian River County, Florida. They had seen Sentenced and were excited about the work they were doing and wanted us to come see what they were up to. And then my dad went and said, we have to tell the story. And they wanted an outsider to tell their story. So we connected with Barbara and Liz, who are in the series. But basically, they had struggling boys that were dyslexic, and they spent so much money on getting them up to speed. And also just saw the cycle start. So that they didn't catch right away. Saw that cycle of shame begin early. And they thought, man, we live in this community that's so rich, and then there's such poverty on the other side of the island, they call it. What do we do about those kids? Mm-hmm. And so Liz went to get her master's and learned everything she could about reading and from the dyslexic lane. They saw, well, the science says 95% of kids should be able to learn, so let's make a goal that 90% of the kids in our community are going to be reading at the end of their grade, which was the time they thought was like a reasonable goal.
Yeah.
When they were at 30% or something.
Wow.
And
reaching for the moon.
They're their main shot. And so over a decade plus, they did everything they could, piloting programs, galvanizing the whole community to buy into this goal, that getting people from every sector to see how it benefits them, that 90% of the kids in the community are reading. And then what really took it over the edge is their work attracted a superintendent who was really passionate about this. Mm-hmm. And in 4 years of having him, took their schools, because he was able to systematize it.
How did he do that?
He's a systems master. He's a freak. As the backing of the community, they were able to pull off so much more like that he couldn't do with government.
Okay.
So they supplemented, the Learning Alliance supplemented what he needed to. So they created a Moonshot school, which is totally just a laboratory school. If you're a teacher at that school, you're agreeing to be locked in on, people to be learning from you. They said, what would it look like if we just poured tons of resources into one school to just show what it could be like? And that school is at 90%. But there are other schools who aren't lab schools. Public schools are really close to that goal now.
Wow.
They're
I saw
averaging
that bottom.
Yeah, and it's just an incredible story of what happens when a community buys into a really bold goal and they get everyone on board and then the system works for it. Like, because it's a public-private partnership.
Okay.
And so it's also a chance to show, like, hey, to our governments, this is where good spending can happen. This is where you can invest in literacy coaches, hold superintendents accountable, but in a way like he is also fearless. He's like, fire me, I don't care. I'm doing right by kids. And so they can't fire him because he's getting the results. Because he's fearless. And a lot of times superintendents can't be fearless because their jobs are on the line.
Yep.
And no one stays long enough to.
How long has he been the superintendent?
He came in 2019.
Yeah.
Like 7 years is actually a long time.
Yes, for superintendent.
This year, because of our series, they had a summit called Wired to Learn, and 31 different states came.
Oh my goodness.
So we know that storytelling brings all the girls to the yard.
I've never heard that before.
But like when they saw it, like they could have heard about it, written an article, a white paper, but nothing like our film series that said, oh, we have to go learn from these people. And then it's holding them to keep maintaining that bar.
Wow.
So this was Florida, and then from Florida moved to Mississippi.
Yeah, so Mississippi is what we're in development for right now.
Got it.
And the reason why I felt compelled to tell this story as outsiders to, we're not in Mississippi, we're not Mississippians, but because of our track record in telling stories in this cause, this is a chance to complete kind of maybe our trifecta of films that's sentences this human cost of illiteracy and what people can do. The Moonshot is what a district can do. A community can rally around a bold, ambitious goal for their kids. And the Mississippi is what can happen at a state level when the state aligns.
That's fantastic.
All those three pieces in storytelling could really help give a state, a community, all the tools they need, what they can demand from their schools, their states, their people. That, a big dream is to ignite the culture that this is something that this is everyone's problem.
It's everyone's problem, and there's ways that we can work together and bridge that gap. What have been some encouraging outcomes so far as this growing into Mississippi and Alabama also?
Louisiana, Alabama too, actually. It's part of the Southern Surge. Positive outcomes. With Sentenced, we've seen tons of new volunteers enter in the cause. I don't have the exact numbers, but there were thousands of people that signed up to be volunteers.
Through the Children's Literacy Project, or
Through local,
any local or
but ones that are in our network. So they reported to us. They've also raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for their programs with our film. New programs have popped up all over the country because they said, oh, we can do this. We're actually now partnering with Martin Luther King III campaign called Realize the Drain, and we are the literacy branch, or one of the literacy, we're probably the main one that helps funnel volunteer hours. They're doing a 100-year birthday celebration for Martin Luther King, and they're trying to get to 100 million volunteer hours. So we're taking on the literacy side of that. With Moonshot, like I said, that has attracted 31 states to learn from them, and to me that's huge, because if these districts are learning about effective ways to change the trajectory of their kids, that's all on par with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we're all on the same side. We want to help kids learn how to read.
Yeah, and again, the thing that I learned with Sentence is, like, we know that volunteers, it's not going to solve the crisis.
No.
But it is extremely helpful, and it's support that schools need. But we know that if the systems can change, that's when we'll see results at scale. So to me, we need both.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's kind of where we're working with kind of top down, bottom up, you know.
I think your work is so needed, and I'm so impressed, and I hope you feel encouraged today. But I think that's very normal to have ups and downs with anything that you're working so hard. But I just want to encourage you, and I know, Kristine, you feel the same way. It's like, thank you for doing this work, and you've definitely inspired us to pour into how we can mentor and continue to help build literacy.
And spread the word.
And spread the word,
Spread the
absolutely.
word. Who should watch these films?
Any concerned adult.
I agree.
For Sentenced, yes.
Well, and high schoolers can watch Sentenced.
Okay.
Definitely. High schoolers should watch
I think I actually feel like I have a vision of a high school, supporting an elementary school and just having their kids.
Yes.
If you can read over a fifth grade level, you can teach someone to read,
We've had our middle school and high school students come down to read with younger kids, and it is so endearing. It's so good for them. And you can see the high school and middle school kids chuckling over these picture books that they remember when they were little, and it's fun to revisit them. So it's fun. It's wonderful.
And what about Moonshot? I mean, it's not just for educators.
No, it's for, again, I think civic leaders, community members. It is for, I think people don't even know what to ask of their communities. So it's a chance to see what's possible.
I love that, because sometimes I know for me, it can be overwhelming, and to see something, you're like, oh, I see a little blueprint here. I have some next steps. Yeah. There's people that I can imagine who would love to help, but they're like, I'm not a teacher. I don't know how I could help. What would you say to them?
We're building our database right now, but on our website, Children's Literacy, Teach a Kid to Read link that you can put in your zip code and find a local literacy organization that you can volunteer with. If there's nothing that comes up, I bet if you walked to your local elementary school, did your background check.
Yeah. Often
we found people that are there to support. They go in reading to kids that are struggling. You really don't need to be a teacher especially at this level. And a lot of these programs have the curriculum. So I worked with Reading Partners in LA, but they're national. They're not in every city, but they're a lot of places, and you're following a script.
Yep.
And you're sitting next to a kid, and it's a beautiful time. So
that's so cool. And like for teachers out there, what kind of encouragement can you share with the teachers out there?
I'm just impressed after doing all this. I'm like, I bet my life would be so much better if I were a teacher. Like, these are beautiful. They're making them such a huge impact on children, and I guess just keep going and keep learning and being open to what's effective. We have to be lifelong learners. So if you're being exposed to something new, don't resist it. You're not a bad teacher or a bad person. We're just going with what can reach the most kids.
I think that's so important as seasoned teachers. It's hard to relearn new things, but to your point, when there's better things out there, it's just keeping that flexibility.
Yeah, being open. And
being
lifelong
open.
Learners. I mean, Jenny and I say that all the time. Like, this is why we're doing this.
Yes.
To continue to learn and to continue to grow. So,
Yeah.
so important.
Stay open and flexible. Should we go into our speed round?
Let's do it.
We're going to ask you some lighthearted questions. Okay, here we go.
Lindsay, what do you love most about reading?
I love entering another world. I actually read a lot of English countryside novels, and I find myself just so happily in another time.
Are you into the fantasy genre? That's such a big thing for young people.
Young people, that's so generous.
You are young.
36.
We could be your mother.
I'm like, hot mom. Promiscuous mom.
Oh, gosh.
I read some of the fantasy, but I recently I found this author that is like a deep cut in British literature.
Really?
D.E. Stevenson.
Oh.
She writes these lighthearted, I call them English countryside novels.
And with a view, sort of.
Like Anne of Green Gables is not, I wouldn't say as they're very simple, and the characters are not messed up people. They're just humans with their flaws. It's a very nervous system, call me.
Yeah.
She wrote like 80 books.
Oh.
And she's not, I guess, as a totally respected author because of how much she put out, but I think she's brilliant. Her ability to capture human nature in these just tiny moments to me is amazing. But yeah, I also am a huge Harry Potter fan.
I love Harry Potter.
I'm like, have you heard their full cast audio? No, they're all out. 200 different voice actors per book. Full, like, immersive audio experiences. I'm on book 7. I was sitting in my car listening.
You're kidding, because I've done the Jim Dale Audible.
I had low expectations because I feel like you can't beat.
No.
And it's really well done.
So it's the original 7 books.
Yeah, not abridged. Just every voice has a voice actor with music and Foley. And it's pretty amazing.
Summer 2026, here I come.
We go long walks.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you for sharing. What's one word that describes literacy to you?
Opportunity.
I like that. What's a self-care routine that's a must for you besides reading English countryside novels?
Pickleball.
Oh,
Nice.
I was about to say, like, my red light therapy mess, but man, if I don't play pickleball, I'm not a person. I love competing. I love playing.
Nice. Something that's giving you hope right now.
This podcast.
Yes, good.
so sweet. What's one small thing adults can do this week to support literacy right now?
You could watch our $5 to Children's Literacy Project.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep our community alive.
Absolutely.
Get immersed in it. Just let it break your heart.
It's really
Well,
powerful.
for everyone that watches it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful film. I highly recommend it. I really am excited to watch Moonshot now.
Yeah.
That'll be really-
It's fun. It's like, oh, cool. This is
Yeah.
it's possible. It's like, what if we did that in Sherman Oaks? What if we just decided that every kid in this zip code was going to be at 90% I mean,
That'd be so fun.
what would that look like? You know?
Oh, less screen time.
Yeah.
That would be great. Well, let's go into our big little lesson. So we like to share what we learned from you today. And I have so much that my heart is full from hearing you. I'm going to say my big little lesson is understanding and learning more about the science of reading. Because I think, as you said, science is the first word, that's always evolving. And I'm so passionate about knowing the best things and the best reading strategies to help someone to read. So that's one of the many, many big lessons, but that one stands out in my head. So I'm going to learn more.
Great.
And I'm going to also be a part of Children's Literacy Project and donate. So thank you. How about you, Kristine?
I was thinking that, understanding the impact of illiteracy is so important for people to understand the effects that it has. When I was talking to Shane's friend and he said, I didn't know that people couldn't read, that really resonated with me. And I think it's so important for everyone to understand the impact that it has on and the cycle that it perpetuates. Mm-hmm. So really understanding that, I think, is my big little lesson for everyone. And also just knowing that everybody can do something. We all can participate in helping with this cause.
Everybody.
And this should not exist.
It shouldn't exist.
Lucy said this earlier, it should not exist.
No, whether it's making a donation or volunteering your time, investing in one person and doing that one-to-one mentoring, it's huge. And we can all do it. And it's something that we can all do.
So we'd like to leave our listeners with a little reflection or homework for the week. So our homework going to be, Jenny.
Okay, so maybe this week it's as simple as reading aloud to a child. So donating your books or volunteering or even just becoming more aware of the literacy needs in your own community. Just being a little more aware. Mm-hmm. It's available.
Did kindergartners get homework?
Oh, that's a
little bit, just practice. Yeah.
We want parents to be reading with their kids every night.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of homework near the very end of the school year, but we really want them and expect them to be reading in the evenings. That's what we want them. That's their homework. Just pick up books, reading.
And, having that one charismatic, caring adult in your life and how that one person makes a difference. Yeah. So for us, for our listeners, think about who you are in that person's life.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I've known grandparents who live out of state or don't live nearby their grandkids, and they get online and they read stories online together. Well into, I'm thinking of one in particular. This young girl is in now 7th grade, and they read novels together. And sometimes they'll be quiet, they're reading their books, and then they'll ask each other questions. And it's so lovely. But there's ways that, with technology you can connect as well.
True. And I feel like I haven't given my mother the credit she deserves.
Oh yeah, let's hear about your mom.
I know we're wrapping up, but she read to every elementary school class at the one I went to 10 years after we all left.
And she did.
She like a celebrity when we'd go on walks in the neighborhood. Miss Martin. She used to read to the blind on the radio, in local radio in Oregon.
Oh my God.
And the neighbor girl across the street, this little girl Piper, I say it's all worth it for Piper because Piper was struggling with reading and would come over to my parents' house every day, and my mom would read with her. They read Little House on the Prairie, and my mom taught Piper to read. And
that is awesome.
And part of that, and Piper's now, I think she's a freshman. She's just the most. I feel like they have this beautiful relationship that my mom and I, I'm such a daddy's girl. Uh-huh. So I always joke with my mom, I feel like Piper's the daughter you always wanted, but I had no problem with it. It's so beautiful, and that connection to reading. And I feel like my mom all the grandkids read with my mom, and they want her to read stories. And so she really is the heartbeat behind all of this, But I feel like I need to give her that credit because she really walks the walk. And then she ended up reading to every kid in the neighborhood at these new houses, that young families, and they all would come over and read with her.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's where the start of this whole documentary came from.
Yeah,
Your mom.
there you go.
She was role modeling. And she was planting little seeds. Like, here, one day you're going to go around the country.
She would read to us. So when Harry Potter 5 came out, I was like 11. And my brothers we all read it, but she'd only buy one book. And we were like, Mom. And we couldn't wait. We were on a huge road trip to Yellowstone. And she would read it out loud to us because we would fight. And then we'd go and read a chapter on our own, come back when we were driving.
Oh my gosh.
She's such a good reader.
Oh, I'd love to hear her read. She sounds like a Pied Piper. You know what I mean?
She really is not made for this world. She's made for children. Yeah.
I want to meet her.
She's a magical little lady.
Let us know when she comes into town. Yeah. She needs to come to your classroom.
So all the grandkids' classes.
Oh, I love it.
I know. It's really sweet.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned your mom. She sounds like an extraordinary
Her
woman.
44th anniversary today, so I need to.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Shout out.
Oh my gosh.
I'd love to get 1 year under my belt, so.
You will. I have no doubt. Well, Lucy, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. It's such important work, and I hope that we can be a source of encouragement because you're doing some incredible work, so thank you.
Listeners, you could learn more, watch Sentenced and Moonshot, and find ways to get involved through the Children's Literacy Project and teach a kid to read.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget to subscribe to us. Follow us on Instagram at Teach Big Little Lessons.
And find us on all the places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, all the things.
Yeah.
And as always, big little lessons are everywhere. Until next time.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.